I am absolutely addicted to a very specific feeling. You know the one.
Oh, I think I have a guess.
You probably do. It's when the alarm goes off and, like, before the second ring, your feet are already on the floor. You aren't groggy, you are just a machine.
Right.
The inbox gets zeroed out before 9 in the morning. The laundry isn't just washed, it's folded, it's color-coded, it is put away. You're navigating your day like the captain of a very tight, very fast ship.
Yeah.
And it feels fantastic, doesn't it?
Well, it feels like control. It feels
Wow.
like you were finally winning the game of adulthood.
Exactly, winning the game. But here is the question that really made me stop in my tracks while I was reading our source material for today. It's a question that kind of haunts the edges of that perfect productive day.
Huh.
What happens when the noise stops?
Hmm.
Like when the emails are sent, the house is quiet, and you finally sit down with that cup of coffee. Does it feel like peace, or does it feel dangerous?
That really turns the whole productivity narrative on its head immediately. Usually we think the danger is the chaos, right? The mess, the backlog. But today we are actually suggesting the danger might be the silence.
It really is a massive mindset shift. So today we are taking a deep dive into this fascinating piece of writing titled The Architecture of the Unnoticed Pause. And I have to warn you right now, for anyone listening, this is not a how-to guide on time management. We aren't going to tell you how to squeeze more juice out of your day.
No, quite the opposite, actually. This is investigation into the hidden costs of that efficiency we all prize so much. We're looking at a concept where being high-functioning isn't necessarily a sign that everything is okay. It might actually be a really sophisticated survival mechanism designed to outpace some difficult questions.
Outpacing the questions. That exact phrase has been stuck in my head all week. It suggests that if we just move fast enough, the truth can't catch us.
Yeah.
So to unpack this, we are going to follow the story of a character from the text named Priya. And usually when we talk about burnout, we picture someone physically collapsing, right? Like staying in bed for 3 days, unable to function.
Completely shut down.
Exactly. But Priya isn't failing. She is the MVP of her life.
And that makes her the perfect case study for what the source calls quiet burnout. The cracks in Priya's life aren't in what she does. I mean, she does everything perfectly. The cracks appear in the moments when she stops doing.
Right. So let's walk through Priya's day to see how this architecture is built. The source paints this picture of a morning that honestly I was a little jealous of when I first read it. The alarm rings once, she's up, she is not hitting snooze, she's not doom scrolling in bed.
Right, and look at the language used there. She isn't just waking up, she is activating. Her brain starts playing Tetris immediately. The text describes a mental list assembling itself without effort. It's almost robotic, but in a way that we really admire.
I know that feeling so well. It's like your brain is this separate entity that's already 3 moves ahead of your physical body. By the time the kitchen kettle is boiling, she's answered 2 messages, she's rescheduled a meeting, she's handing out plates. The text says nothing felt rushed, yet everything moved quickly.
That sounds like the absolute dream state.
It does.
That is the definition of flow. But let's look closer at why that flow feels so good. It's not just about getting things done. The source says movement prevented backlog. Space meant relief.
Meaning if I just keep moving, the pile doesn't get any higher.
It's deeper than that, though. It's the comfort of speed. She answers messages like adjusting posture. It's automatic. It's muscle memory. But here is the critical insight from the author. This efficiency is acting as a defense mechanism.
How so?
It is occupying the internal space so completely that nothing else can enter it. If you fill every single second with doing, you never have to deal with being.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate for just a second here. Isn't that just being good at your job, being a responsible parent? Why do we have to pathologize being efficient? I mean, someone has to pack the lunches.
That's a very fair pushback. Being efficient isn't the problem itself. The lunches definitely need to get packed. The problem is what happens at the turning point. So the workday ends. The visible part of the day is a massive success. No crises, everything handled. So Priya does her transition ritual.
The unnoticed pause.
Yes. She closes the laptop. She turns down the volume on her phone notifications. She takes her cup of coffee to the window.
This is supposed to be the victory lap.
Exactly. This should be the reward. The source notes that this used to be the best part of her day, but recently the dynamic has shifted. The text says the silence did not soften the day, it interrupted it.
Interrupted it. That is such a jarring way to describe relaxation. It implies that the noise is her baseline and the silence is the intrusion.
Because for Priya, the silence feels like exposure. The source has this really chilling line. It felt less like rest and more like being observed.
Being observed by whom, though? There is no one there. She's alone at the window.
By herself. Or rather, by the things she has been outrunning all day. See, when you are moving at 100 miles per hour, your peripheral vision blurs. You don't see the cracks in the pavement. You don't see the structural damage in your own life. But when you stop, the blur resolves into clarity. And that clarity is terrifying if you haven't checked in with yourself in years.
Wow. So the discomfort doesn't come from the work, it comes from the absence of work.
Precisely. It is a withdrawal symptom. The source notes that Priya feels a faint restlessness. And nothing is wrong. She didn't commit a crime. She didn't miss a deadline. But she feels unsafe. So what does she do? She can't just sit in that feeling.
She copes. She fills the gap immediately. The source lists these micro-activities she jumps into. Scrolling social media, planning tomorrow's to-do list, rearranging the house.
Right. She is trying to regain momentum. Because if she stops completely, she has to confront the sensation that something is waiting for her. We often think people scroll on their phones because they're bored or they just want dopamine. But in this context, the scrolling is a shield. It protects us from the silence.
It's like she's keeping the engine revving at a red light because she's afraid if it drops to idle, the car's just going to stall and never start again.
That's a great analogy. She eventually admits to herself, I finish everything, then I sit down. And instead of feeling relaxed, it feels like something is waiting. That something is her own awareness.
Which brings us to the mechanism of how she actually got here. Because you don't just wake up one day terrified of silence. You build that fear brick by brick over time. The source moves from the morning routine to a section called the yes that arrived too early. And I have to say this part hit me really hard because I do this constantly.
This is the automatic yes. Walk us through the scenario they lay out.
Okay, so Priya is at her desk at work. Standard day. A colleague approaches her with a request. And they're a little hesitant, maybe a bit apologetic. You know the vibe. Hey, sorry to bother you. I know you're completely swamped.
And they haven't even finished the sentence yet.
Exactly. Before the sentence is even finished, Priya says, yes, I'll take it.
Before the punctuation?
Literally before the question mark. And the scary part is she doesn't think about it. It just happens. But later, she's driving home. She's listening to her favorite songs. And the scene replays in her mind. And she actually asks herself, why did I say yes so fast?
Now, usually when we analyze this kind of behavior, we talk about people-pleasing or fear. We assume people say yes because they're afraid of conflict or they have a toxic boss.
Right, like if I don't do this, I'll get fired. Or my team won't like me.
But the source is very specific here. Priya wasn't afraid. She wasn't being forced or manipulated. Helping feels very natural to her. Her whole identity is built on being dependable. The text says, helping avoids conflict. Agreement preserves harmony. She likes being the person who can handle it.
So it's a positive trait run amok.
It is a positive trait that has become unmoored from time. The source uses this incredible phrase. Her yes was still sincere. It was simply arriving earlier than she did.
Arriving earlier than she did. That is a bit abstract. Help me ground that. What does it actually mean for a word to arrive before the person?
It means the response has become a reflex, not a choice. Think of it like this. If I throw a ball at your face, you blink. You don't decide to blink. Your body just does it to protect you. Priya has trained herself so that saying yes is a blink. It bypasses the executive processing center of her brain, the part that checks capacity or desire or energy, and it just goes straight to the mouth.
So she is quite literally not present for the decision. She shows up a few seconds later after the promise has already been made.
Exactly. And the source uses a metaphor here that I found really helpful to visualize this internal state. It says she felt like furniture rearranged in a dim room.
Oh, I love that image. You know your house so well, you can walk through it in the dark. You know exactly where the sofa is. But if someone moves the coffee table 2 inches to the left, you just smash your shin.
That is the exact sensation.
Huh.
Externally, she looks the same. She is the helpful, efficient Priya, but internally, she is bumping into things. She's bumping into the reality that she didn't actually have the time or the energy for that request. She is noticing that she completely skipped the moment of choosing. And that is dangerous.
Why is it dangerous if she probably would have said yes anyway? I mean, if she's naturally a helpful person, the outcome is the same, right? The work gets done.
The outcome is the same for the colleague, sure. But for Priya, the internal cost is cumulative. The source says responsiveness shifted from generosity to something structural. When you lose that pause between the stimulus, the request, and the response, the yes, you lose your agency. You stop being the driver of your life and you start becoming the suspension system, just absorbing bumps for everyone else.
Absorbing bumps. That transitions perfectly to the domestic scene, which I found to be maybe the most heartbreaking part of this entire text. It's titled The Dinner Table, and this is where the cost stops being abstract and becomes really, really personal.
This scene illustrates perfectly how absorption looks like cooperation, and that distinction is vital to understand.
So Priya is in the kitchen, she is cooking dinner, and she's not just throwing a frozen pizza in the oven, she is catering. The source describes her making 3 different variations of a meal because one kid wants it plain, her partner likes spice, someone is eating light or familiar foods.
And again, note the efficiency there. Chopping, stirring, tasting. It is a well-choreographed dance. She's making the evening easier for everyone.
And she feels good about it. That is the tricky part. She genuinely likes caring for her family. There's a quiet satisfaction of completion. But then dinner is over. Everyone is fed. Everyone is happy. Priya is standing at the sink washing the dishes. The water is running. And suddenly a question floats up. What did I feel like eating today?
It's such a small, almost trivial question on the surface. Who cares what you wanted for dinner if everyone is fed and happy?
But the answer she finds is devastating. She realizes she had wanted soup, or maybe a stir fry, something specific to her. But that preference, the source says, stepped aside before it was consulted.
That line right there is the diagnosis. Stepped
Right.
aside before it was consulted.
And nobody asked her to do that. That is what drives me crazy. Her family didn't demand 3 different meals. There was no villain in the kitchen twirling a mustache, forcing her to cook all this.
And that is exactly why quiet burnout is so insidious. If her partner had demanded she cook 3 meals, she might have rebelled, she might have fought back. But because she did it to herself, because her care moved faster than her sense of self, it feels like love. But it's actually erasure.
The source defines burnout in a way I've never heard before. It says it's not always exhaustion or explosion. It's when choice repeatedly arrives after commitment instead of before it.
Just think about the math of that for a second. If your choice arrives after your commitment, you are living in a permanent state of debt. You are paying off time and energy that you already spent without asking yourself if you could even afford it.
Living on a time delay. Your obligations are all in the future. Your true self is stuck back in the past, and the present is just a blur of execution.
Exactly. And if you do that for 10 years, you wake up and realize you don't even know what you like to eat anymore. You don't know what music you like. You become a passenger in your own life, as the source puts it. The GPS is set by everyone else's needs, and you were just turning the wheel.
That is terrifying. So we have the diagnosis, the automatic yes, the uncomfortable pause, the missing soup. What is the cure? Does Priya need to storm into the living room, smash a plate on the floor, and scream, I am a human being?
No. And I really appreciate that the source doesn't go there. This isn't a movie where she quits her job and moves to a cabin in the woods. The solution they offer is surprisingly subtle. It is about restoring timing.
Right. It notes that she didn't set strict boundaries immediately. She didn't march in and promise to change everything or start saying no to everyone the next day.
Right, because if she just started saying no automatically, she's still reacting. A reflex no is just as mindless as a reflex yes. She's still not choosing. She's just rebelling.
So what did she actually do?
She sat with the recognition. She simply acknowledged that the silence wasn't an emptiness. It was the space where her voice was arriving late.
That sounds a bit passive, though. Sitting with the recognition, how does that actually help anything?
It helps because awareness restores the gap. The goal isn't to change the answer necessarily, it's to change the timing. The source argues this isn't a story about helping less, it's a story about ensuring that when you do say yes, you have arrived in the moment before the word does.
So it's simply about lengthening that pause,
Right.
even by just a second.
Yes, it is the fundamental difference between a reflex and a response. A reflex belongs to the situation, a response belongs to you.
The source actually gives us some diagnostic questions, almost like a checklist to see if you are suffering from this quiet burnout. I think we should go through these for the listener.
These are great. The first one asks, where does your yes arrive automatically?
That's a good one to ponder. Is it with your boss, your kids, your spouse? For me, it is definitely email. I reply before I've even fully processed what they're asking. It just feels safer to get it off my plate.
The second question cuts a bit deeper. What happens in the seconds you do not pause?
Ooh, that forces you to really look at the anxiety. Like, what are you avoiding? Are you afraid they'll think you're lazy? Afraid they'll stop liking you? That question asks you to look straight at the ghost in the room.
And the big one. When was the last time you felt your response forming instead of appearing?
Forming instead of appearing. That is the core takeaway right there. If your answer just appears like a pop-up ad in your brain, it's probably a defense mechanism. But if it forms, it has your DNA in it. It has your actual consideration.
It goes right back to that idea of friction. Earlier, we talked about efficiency being frictionless. Priya's automatic yes creates a totally frictionless life. But humans actually need friction. We need the friction of choice to feel like we exist. If you remove all the friction, you slide right through your own days without touching the sides.
Sliding through your days without touching the sides, that image is going to stay with me for a long time. It makes me rethink the whole goal of having a smooth day. Maybe a day shouldn't be that smooth. Maybe it should be a little bumpy with our own wants and needs.
This source puts it this way. Absorption does not announce itself as a problem. It looks like life moving forward without friction. We have to stop engaging in that absorption and start engaging in participation. And participation requires the pause.
So practically speaking, if you are listening to this right now and realizing, oh, wow, I am Priya, what do you do tomorrow? Because you can't just stop being a dependable person.
You start very small. When someone asks you for something, take one breath, just one. Let the silence hang there for 2 seconds. It will feel incredibly awkward. It will feel like you are letting them down in real time. But in that 2 seconds, ask yourself, do I want to do this? You might still say yes, but at least you will be the one saying it.
And if you're standing at the sink washing dishes, ask yourself what you actually wanted to eat. Even if it's way too late to change the meal, just reclaiming the knowledge of your own preference is a victory.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming the data of who you are.
The source ends with a really provocative closing thought on this whole concept of quiet burnout. It essentially redefines the danger zone.
It does. The final thought is this. Quiet burnout begins when silence becomes the only place where the difference between your agreement and your choice can be seen.
That is heavy. If the only time you can see the difference between I have to and I want to is when you are completely alone in a quiet room, you are in trouble.
But the good news is, the silence is also where the solution starts. It is not a threat, it's a waiting room. And it's just waiting for you to show up.
I think that is the perfect place to leave it today. Next time I have a quiet moment and I feel that urge to reach for my phone or wipe down the counter, I am going to try to just sit there and see what catches up to me.
It might be a difficult question. It might just be a preference for soup. But whatever it is worth waiting for.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Go find your pause. We will see you next time.